Last year, in the second community survey from the HEBUT Foundation, we asked subscribers of Echoes Magazine a series of questions about their community, including this one: what words do you live by? We weren't just asking for your favorite song lyrics or dad wisdom. We hoped you would share how you connect with God, how you see God working in the world, and you didn't disappoint us. Now, most of you cited the Bible, which is a good reminder how many of you believe all scripture is God breathed and useful for teaching. But a lot of you cited other religious texts, and you shared poetry and music and literature. There's so many different perspectives and beliefs in our audience. It's like we say at Laity Lodge: we have an agenda, but we don't have an agenda for you. In fact, when we set agendas aside, we can build a beautiful world together. No matter where your words come from, you focused on the same themes: love and service. And the overwhelming majority of you are living by positive and uplifting words like hope and peace, joy, faith, family, kindness, gratitude, strength. And I'll be honest, this really encouraged me. When I open social media or read the news, it can feel like we are just all negativity and fear and hatred. I mean, hatred is loud, but at least in our audience, there actually isn't very much of it. What would the world be like if we shared more words of love and hope? I'm Marcus Goodyear from the HEBUT Foundation, and you're listening to the Echoes podcast. On today's episode, we welcome our guest, Olga Samples Davis. Olga is an educator, retired from St. Philip's College in San Antonio, and a poet. I'm here with my co-host, Camille Hull Ortega. Today we're going to talk about the words we live by. Olga, friend, welcome to the Echoes podcast.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, we've been talking about words to live by, and we asked our audience about words to live by, and I'm just curious, why do you think it's important, or do you think it's important to have words to live by?
I certainly do think it's important. Of course, I agree with many of these wise people in the survey. We start with the Bible, or we somehow include the Bible. And we look for these compasses to guide us in life.
Mm.
We're all broken. I love what Hemingway said about that. He said, we're just all broken, but that's how the light comes in.
Yeah.
And I always think about that. And the words have come in my life from not just the Bible, which was the teachings in our home, but all those teachers, everyday teachers in our lives. Learning was something you had to be cognizant of every minute of your life. And everyone had something to teach. You just had to pay attention.
Olga, we gave a little brief intro of you, but I'm curious about some of your background. I'd love to know who instilled in you a love for literature and for poetry. I'd love to know sort of where the roots of that are for you.
There were many. There were many. My mother, most importantly, but she came from a long line of preachers and teachers at a time when a very difficult time because her father was a minister ordained, sold the only valuable thing that they owned as a family, the house, to make it possible for him to go to seminary and for my grandmother to go to college. That's
Wow.
insane, people would
Wow.
say, but they believed in education. So we come from a long line of people that are very serious yet joyful about learning and sharing.
That is amazing. I mean, I don't know that education is only about words, but to be willing to sell your house must mean that you believe in the power of education, the power of words.
I'm
And
telling you. And God. I mean,
yes,
it was
that's right.
God
Right.
centered.
Can you imagine a situation where somebody is living by words that are different than the words you live by? And what do you do in that situation?
I have found throughout my travels in this world, be it the neighborhood, the city, a state, a nation, a continent, that kindness is the language that the blind
Mm.
can see and the deaf can hear. I may not know your language, You might not know mine, but there's something magical. Maybe magical isn't the right word, but something so rich and good about kindness that people learn to communicate enough to get to where they want to go.
I imagine that someone like you who values words so much can can make just a huge difference in people's lives just as you converse with them. How do you find yourself using words to encourage others?
Oh.
You find the divine in people and you try to find it very quickly. The only reason why I stayed in education as long as I did was because you have a chance to really do community service in
Yes.
education. I mean, that's some
Yes.
serious work there. People come with a great deal of pain. You don't know what
Mm.
burden they're carrying. You don't know where they've been, where they're going. I mean, you have no idea of their circumstance until they start telling their story. And I was in a discipline where you told your stories all the time in a communication division. And literally, there were people in the class who just break down crying, and everybody else is
Mm.
crying too. But it was a safe place, it was a sacred place. And in those moments, you're able to just touch a divineness in a person's soul and offer them help because now you know more. And now that you know more, you have to do more.
I'm hearing now that we share some background, which I think is really exciting. My educational background is also in communication studies, and I got to teach at the college level as well. And I'm just thinking about you are bringing up memories for me that are so meaningful. I taught a public speaking course, a summer course, and when you're teaching a class like that, your audience can run the gamut. The students, some of
Hmm.
them were back in their hometown for the summer and they were going to in a 4-year program at a big university, and they're just here to get a credit out of the way to
Hmm.
take back to their university. And some folks were working a full-time job and taking, classes here and there. And in a public speaking course, you have people, Jerry Seinfeld makes the joke like people are more afraid of public speaking than they are of death. So people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy, which I always thought was a funny joke. But you have people who are really fearful of sharing words in front of other folks.
You are so right.
Yes. And
So
so
right.
to yes, and so to see growth from people learning how to share their voice with words, prepared words or extemporaneous words was such a gift. I imagine you have a lot of stories of students that sort of found the power of words in your classroom and beyond.
I've been blessed to have them teach me. The first few months of a public speaking class, when they're telling these personal stories, I had one woman to go in labor, a
Whoa.
man to faint. I mean, it was just like something out of a nightmare. You know, that you're right. It's like the fear of dying. So everyone waits to take that course, very end, to the very end of the
Yes,
coursework.
yes.
And they just, I mean, you didn't know what to expect next, really, quite
Mm.
frankly. Some people got up and walked out and never came back, even though I tried to track them down. It
Wow.
was just so painful, right up there with the fear of dying.
What do you think is the source of that pain?
You remember that old joke, or it would someone call it a joke, but really for some people it's reality. It's almost like you're buck naked in front of an audience. You know, would
Vulnerability,
you be a little bit uncomfortable? I mean,
right?
you're sharing your most intimate thoughts if you're telling a
Yeah.
personal story, which is one of the most effective ways to get the attention of an audience. So you're bearing your soul. You probably haven't even bared your soul with most members of your family.
That's right.
And then they have something on you. You know, you're
Yeah.
afraid of them
Oh.
having something that they could
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
later.
So it's like a fear of intimacy, but not an inappropriate fear because people use intimacy against each other.
Yes, yes,
Or to get
yes.
closer, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes. But
Mm.
what I loved about the classes is if you stayed, we had this common commitment to cherish and keep to ourselves with those stories. I mean, we didn't go out, you
Mm,
didn't hear them all over campus or anything like that.
right.
Yeah.
So I thought that whole trustworthiness that I tried to ensure for them, they took it and made it happen for real.
Mm.
And they're still in touch. Most of my students are still in touch with others in their
Oh,
classes. So I'm hoping that continues.
There's a bond that's created in that
Hmm.
vulnerability. Yeah.
Hmm.
how did you find the courage to share your voice and your stories?
I had a mother that said, "You'll do it or you'll die."
Nothing
Not
like a mom threat.
literally. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
come on. I brought you in this world, I'll take you out. I mean, she didn't mean that she'd actually take us to meet Jesus early, but you felt like she meant it. You
Yeah.
and you have to understand at the time when I was growing up, the only safe haven, you had very few safe havens. So the church was the mainstay. And at church, you had to learn to tell your story, no matter how old you were, how young you were.
Mm.
You had to learn to speak aloud scripture, no matter how old, how young you were. So you were responsible for speaking aloud those words that could change lives. And you had to take it seriously. It was not a simple, I'm going to memorize this. You had to feel it or you did it over and over and over and over again. It was a torture at times, but you understood later why that was so important. And in
Yeah.
those rough times in life, that's when you could call it up and say, uh-huh, oh, yeah, I understand that. I can do all things through him
Mm.
who
Who
gives
strengthens
me
me.
strength.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, in a church, you've got multiple generations together.
Hmm.
It's a little bit different than a classroom where you have usually sort of one generation and then the teacher. Do you think that different generations need different words?
I think the words change regardless. I mean,
Yeah.
we're in a society where we're constantly evolving and people are creating what's best for them in terms of their communication processes or whatever. They are they're making their thing happen, so to speak,
Yeah.
in certain generations. So guess what? Jump on the wagon, find out how it can relate to you, and expand your territory. Take an opportunity to find out what's going on. It would behoove you to do so. I mean, it's called life.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
really want to live it, you need to try to jump on the bandwagon and understand as much as you can.
When you say expand
But
your territory, I usually hear that used to mean expand your finances and power and stuff. But you're using it to talk about language, to talk about understanding.
yes, yes, yeah, I certainly am. I think, what is it? And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, "Oh, that you would bless me indeed and expand my territory, that your hand would be with me and that you keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain." And God granted him what he
Mm.
requested. So, yeah, I'm using it in the sense of, um, by any means necessary, do what you have to do in order to grow without hurting someone else.
Hmm.
And
That's
certainly
good.
not yourself either.
This is the 20th anniversary of your book,
Mhm.
Things My Mama Told Me. Does it feel like
Mm.
Mhm.
it's been 20 years?
Mm-mm.
They go
Mm-mm.
fast. So when I when I picked up this book again recently and I was, thinking about it as a tribute to your mama, I forgot that very early in the book you tell this story where your mom is kind of picking on you.
Oh
and
yeah.
you tell yourself, just accept it. You are her target today. It's fine. And it's not the sort of thing I was expecting to get so early on in this book about your mother's wisdom. And I'm wondering, how do you love your mother's wisdom and also still acknowledge that like not every wisdom, not every moment in her life is full of wisdom? How do you create that separation?
Marcus, you have children, don't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Each child is treated a little bit differently. You have to tweak your little program for each child. I was that child that needed tough love.
Mm.
Really. I mean, when I said I was the target that day, just suck it up, buttercup. Basically, I knew school was in session. I
Wow.
needed to pay attention because I was about to get the premier lesson here
Hmm.
for a host of things that I thought I knew something about and didn't know diddly. So I just always got ready when there was a certain look, a certain response. I said, uh-oh, I'm in trouble with Mrs. Bubble, so to speak. It's about to come. And so really it was just these were really moments of wisdom on a different level. I got wise when she made me go through whatever steps I needed to go through to be better at what it was that I should have done right the first time.
Mm.
She did not
Yeah.
play.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I love this thought of a mother's wisdom and a mother's words being so powerful because we know that relationship, for most people it's meaningful in some way, whether really positive or really negative or somewhere in between. The mom child relationship is really powerful. I'm curious to know, you've shared a little bit, but I'm curious to know what's maybe one piece of wisdom that you received from your mother that is most memorable for you.
Actually, one day she said to me, I made a terrible mistake. And she said simply, in a stern yet loving voice, that behavior was not worthy of you.
Mm.
It just hurt so much. And it was the way she said it, yet with the love and respect for what it was that she knew was good in me, but yet I had not demonstrated that.
Mm.
But when she said that behavior was not worthy of you, oh, it just made me rethink a thousand different things.
Hmm.
I went into a silent retreat,
Mm.
literally, and said nothing for the rest of the day. She had to come in and check on me because she said, oh my goodness, are you sick? I mean, she didn't even realize the power of the statement.
And it stuck with you. It stuck
It
with you
did.
so that
It
those
did.
words
So I
moved you.
always have that in my mind, is this, I mean, when someone's rude and ugly to me, don't go there, Olga. Don't go there. Find something right about the situation. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Mm.
Find something right. Do not leave this way. Don't even walk away, even if it looks like a fight. Just stay and see if you can't find something right or divine about this situation and use it or
That is
celebrate
such
it.
Yeah,
It's
that's such a
beautiful.
simple challenge when we're faced with so many negative words to always look for
Mhm.
the good. I wonder, like, what does it look like to have a healthier Texas or a healthier America? What kind of words do we need to use to feel like we're being rebaptized every day as a state or as a nation?
I don't know if I have the answer to that, but I will say what I know has worked for me to try to be a better representative of God each day. I just choose to be kind. And I don't know, it doesn't always work 100%. I miss the mark often, but I try to be kind. And by that, I mean to just use words and deeds with everyday people I run across, including family, of course, and friends, to just let those words and deeds offer hope and healing and love and laughter and joy and inspiration, illumination, education, encouragement,
Mm.
kindness. I think kindness is just one of the byproducts of love. But those other gifts I mentioned, they're doable. You go into the grocery store, come on. Sometimes the cashier is just having a terrible day,
Mm.
and they don't mind taking it out on you because you're not paying them. So you can just ask them, how are you doing today? Fine. It's very gruff and rough and uh, just refusal to make a connection. But all you have to do is find one right thing about that person and compliment them on it, and they will change. You got to try to look for the divine, true enough, but just basic things. And if you can just do a little of that, it's like my big thing is I'm not leaving this counter until I make that person smile.
Mm.
And I have the worst jokes in the world, the worst. They're so corny, they're just awful. You have to laugh because they're so crazy. And sometimes that works. But I have to work hard at that. So I try to do something else. But just that color becomes you. You know?
Mm.
What color is that? Then they have to answer you. Green. Okay. All right. Like money, right? you know, you can just a small, tiny little thing can make a difference. And then I usually try to keep going back to that person until they come around and they know me by name, and I know them by
Mm.
name. Because that's another thing. It's a simple courtesy to speak to that person by name if they have a badge on.
Mm.
It's
Oh
a
yeah.
simple little thing. And I always use hello, Horatio. Well, young man, look at you today with your bow tie. I'm scared of you. Just have a little fun with it. Because even if they think you're crazy as a road lizard, that will make them a little joyful because they say, they're crazier than I am. You know, uh, something good will come of it, but you do have to try. So I think that's where we begin with just being healthy. So maybe we can exchange other things like the difficult topics. Meanness, meanness is it's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's hard to swallow, and I think some meanness. There's a degree of most mean things said and done are out of ignorance. I think people don't know any better, and if we're not helping them to get to better, it's not going to get better. I mean, really, quite frankly, misinformation is out there.
Yeah. Say more about that.
Yeah. In the classroom, it's our responsibility to help people research properly
That's right.
Okay.
and
Yeah.
to go to primary sources, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Legitimate. We're not talking about some fly by night publication that came in or some really unconscionable media situations out here. It's just all over the place. It's hard to even wrap your head around at times.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it starts with, well, where did you get that information from? And if you're able to help them see that maybe that wasn't a credible source, that there's maybe heightened understanding in you going to another source, or here's some things that I've learned. Would that be helpful? Usually, if you'll ask them a question, it's not as intimidating. I was in the grocery store not long ago, and someone didn't notice. I was behind an individual who turned around and used a terrible name in describing Black people.
Mm.
And I said, "Oh, where? Where? Who? What?" Because I know my rightful name.
Mm.
So I figured he wasn't talking about me. Of course, I know he was, but the thing is, I said, "Sir, do you know the actual dictionary definition of that word?"
Mm.
And of course, he wasn't going to talk to me. But I was in a safe enough place where I could at least put that forth and hope I could run fast to my car when I got out of
Oh,
there.
Wow.
But
it's amazing that you can
uh,
laugh about it.
it was a public place, a very respectable public place. But for him to shout out what he did, those people, and then use that term was just too much. It was just one of those times where Olga had to say something.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I said, "Sir, you'll find under, if you go to the dictionary, you'll find anyone's name can be under that terrible word that you
Mm.
Mm.
use to describe other people." I said, "Have a nice day. God bless you."
Wow.
Left my
Wow.
groceries right there and then walked out the store because I
Yeah,
knew I couldn't. That's all I could do. But to not do something was not in order.
You exchanged his hatred in words for kindness with yours. And
Yeah, I
and
wasn't angry. I was really more sad.
sure. Yeah.
I was not,
yeah.
I don't do the anger thing. I mean, even when I was in the civil rights movement and your life was constantly threatened, I never remembered being angry. I
Mm.
just remembered being sad and saying, "Okay, got to work harder." But all of us can find in our vocabulary words of kindness for our siblings. After all, we're all human beings.
Right.
And I'm going to a side topic here because I
That's all
love the
right.
words that they say, that Thurgood Marshall said about this humanness. He said, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go do that because that is what the world needs." And
Mm.
then he said, "In recognizing the humanity of our fellow beings, we pay ourselves the highest tribute. All we have to do is recognize the humanity of our fellow beings, and we pay ourselves the highest tribute."
I was going to ask you what words you think the world needs now, but I love this idea that what the world needs is for us to come alive. Sometimes, Olga, I almost have trouble believing that you're you. Does that make sense? Like you're just so good, and I want
I
what's your secret? I don't.
I can be a pill. I can be. It's like you really don't want to see me on a tear in a classroom when somebody has broken all the rules. It's
Mm.
not nice. It's respectful, but it's not nice. You wish, like I wish that day, I wish my mother had just gone and beat me instead of saying that behavior was not worthy of you, darling. I have my moments like everybody else. I am in pain like everyone else. I was particularly um, an awful human being, I felt, when I was losing my husband and then I was losing my mom, and I was a
Mm.
caregiver for both of them, and I was losing them in my home. I just felt like I messed it all up, and I
Mm.
wasn't getting support from the people I who had promised support, and it was just, if ever I was angry in life at a time, there were times when I was angry then. That's the only thing. The civil rights movement didn't bother me. I was like, "Hey, if you're gonna die, you're gonna die. March across this bridge because you don't swim. It's a Chesapeake Bay. Your school's surrounded by the KKK. March across the bridge. Come on, get out
Wow.
of here." But I thought this was a whole new ball game.
Do you think you felt more alone, and that's part of it? That in the civil rights you were marching in a group, whereas with your husband and your mom, you didn't have as
I
much group.
was alone, but I forgot something that I usually practice, which was stop pleading with God and just please God.
Hmm.
I
Wow.
was like, oh my God, Lord, please, da, 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 please. So I messed up. That's where I messed up. It took me a while to figure it out. But I was spending too much energy pleading and not pleasing.
And to
That's good.
please God means what to you?
Well, during that time, uh, trust and obey. I wasn't
Uh-huh.
running things. I had to really think about it. I mean, I was doing the care, but who's in charge? God's in charge.
That's beautiful, Olga. Any last words about words?
I've always believed in the power of the word, and I've always believed in that understanding that at the touch of love, everyone speaks in poetic words.
I love it. I love it. Olga, thank you so much for joining us today. It is always a delight, and today has been no exception.
Wonderful to have you with
Pleasure.
us. Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
The Echoes podcast is written and produced by Marcus Goodyear, Rob Stinnett, and me, Camille Hall Ortega. It's edited by Rob Stinnett and Kim Stone. Our executive producers are Patton Dodd and David Rogers. Special thanks to our guest today, Olga Samples Davis. The Echoes podcast is a production brought to you by the H.E. Butt Foundation. You can learn more about our vision and mission at hebfdn.org.